How are you doing, everyone? So, title of today's live is When to Risk It and Go It Alone. This is like you reach a point, you've been fed up for a while, maybe in what you're doing, whether it's, you're not getting what you want out of life. This could be, you're just fed up where you are. You might want to change career, might want a new job or whatever, or it might just be that you're actually in a job that you're fed up with and you've got this idea you want to do something new, whether that's a new business or completely, maybe you want to emigrate to another country, maybe you want to start something like volunteer work or something. Basically, you're not happy in your current circumstances. You've had enough and you're ready to go it alone, and it's quite scary, isn't it, when you want to make a big change? So when to do it? When do you take the risk? Well, the thing is, there's no easy answer to that, and it tends to come when you hit that point. If you've been thinking about it for a while, and then at some point something's just going to go off in your head. You're just going to be like, what the fuck am I doing here? And I'm wasting my time and all this. And, it's like resentment, really. It just sort of builds over time. And I remember, so this myself, like, I've always wanted to do my own thing. Like in other videos, I've said, like, right from the age of about 12, I had a pretty tough upbringing, really, really tough. And basically from the age of about 12, I had my basic needs met, but nothing more. And it was like, I was very poor. And I was like, I remember at 12, I was like, I'm gonna have to fucking dig myself out of this, because, I looked around me, I looked at my family, and I just thought, no one's going anywhere here. I just, this ain't for me. I was being taught, you've got to get a job, you've got to work for a living, and all that shite. And in a way, it's like, just that's what back in the day that we was taught. And it was the right thing to do, because the vast majority of, the people that grew up poor or working class, it's very hard to dig your family out the working class. It's massive. So in the UK, we still suffer from this kind of class system where, if you were, born into a decent upbringing, you would have more chances in life just through nature of it. Might be that your father was well connected and that he'd make sure you get into a good school, and then, go to university, support you. And then after that, he'd place you in his friend's, business or something like this. He'd get you a job placement at a really prestigious place. And out of everyone that I've known in my life, I've seen, the people that have done well, they've always done this for the kids. They've always made sure that their kids, like, get a top placement when they leave university, you know what I mean? And the kids don't have to worry about, like, standing on their own 2 feet and paying rent, because the parents are there to help them. So there's still this kind of class system, and this happens, right? And it it even affects what university you'll choose. I mean, I've been to university 3 times, and I remember every time one of the biggest concerns, because twice, only the first time was I full time, and that one, it was based on financial, like, could I afford it as a student, was a massive factor on where I went, you know what I mean? And the amount of student debt that I'd have at the end of it, because, when I was studying, it was still a decent amount of debt, but it's nothing like it is today. But the amount of debt you accrue mattered at the time. So, for me, coming from a poor working class upbringing, going to a, say, top university, which was, it just seemed out of reach to me. The other side to it was a little bit of imposter syndrome. When you come from working class, you feel like like I worked in corporate, right? And what I saw was I'm a northerner, you know. I've got this accent. I'm not polished, you know. I'm not polished at all. And when you go into corporate, you see these, you know, like kids who have come from, say, you know, your colleagues who have come from like more of a wealthier or more privileged upbringing. Um, can I? I'll have a little go in a bit. But you get these like colleagues who've come from a more privileged upbringing. They're just fucking polished in the workplace, and you see them rising up the ranks and they're promoted. You know, I remember where I worked, there was a young lad. He was super polished, really smooth. You know, young lad. Didn't necessarily have you know, any particular skills or anything. He just came across well, and this is what you get through going to a good school. You know, like the private schools, you know, that are under attack at the minute in the UK. But you do get, it's not the fact that the kids come out with, say, more grades, because, all right, they do attain academically, but what it is, it's the finishing skills, you know, it's the cohort, it's the softer skills. They teach them to be winners, you know what I mean? So that when they enter the workplace, they feel like winners and they act like winners. And if you've come from a poor upbringing, you didn't have these opportunities, you go into the workplace, you're in corporate, there's kind of a, I felt this, there's a level of imposter syndrome, even though my skills, the one thing I've got is good skills. I've always had good skills. It's what carried me through work. I was a bad employee, basically would not adhere to the rules. But when it comes to sort of producing results, actually producing good quality work through good skills, I just done. Got it, no problem. Could just absolutely smash anyone with skills, right? So that's what kept me in. But I had this kind of like imposter syndrome because I came from a working class upbringing. Like you just don't, you know, you're not like into the whole schmoozing at the golf clubs and all this bollocks, you know. Now I do this because I'm a business owner, so I have to. Well, I don't play golf, but you know, I have to network. So I've had to like build. You almost like have to build yourself up, and I had to do that by leaving all that shit behind, the corporate world, and going forming my own future myself just through hacking it out, you know, and creating a business. And when you there becomes a point, no matter where you are, where you're just absolutely fucking fed up with your life, and you've just got to make the jump for it. And I remember, like, I've had Tony Robbins' breakthrough app for years, you know what I mean, and all the stuff on there. And in all Tony Robbins' programs, one of the things that he always says is that people will only make a big change. It's almost like when you know, the pain of not getting what you want is more greater than like the pleasure of just the where you currently are. It's almost like where the pain of not getting what you want is greater than like just being comfortable and just carrying on as normal. And it takes some effort, like, to get there. I mean, I was just fucking sick of it. I'll tell you what did it for me, right? And I've wrote it down here. I'm going to do an article on this because I think it needs a lot of exploration. But the one thing that did it for me, what really made me break, I was going to do it anyway because I was flipping destined from right from the age of 12. I knew I wanted to my own business and my own thing. I remember seeing it and thinking, I've got to do this for myself. I've got to hack myself out of this lifestyle. But I was there and I had what's called the golden handcuffs. I had a decent position, cracking salary, fucking really good benefits. You know what I mean? I was bringing in good money. Like I say, I had good skills. So I was always able to command a decent salary, and that's what I was doing. But it still wasn't enough because I was paying just shitloads of tax, and it's like you get nowhere. You know, you can add 10, 20 grand to your salary, you won't even see it. You know, most of it will be taxed. And anyway, what did it for me was this. I was in this big corporate business, right? And they've got 100,000 staff worldwide. Every office has got sort of 200 people in it. And you could go into one of these offices, right? And they're probably like, you could count the useful people on one hand, right? The rest of them were just what I'd call make weights. They were just like people that they just charged out X amount per hour and earned a little markup on them. That's what the business did. It was an engineering, design, architecture business, big consultancy. And fucking vast majority of them were like just average, right? And there were probably 5 superstars in that whole office of 200 plus people, right? I were one of them because I'm fucking brilliant. Well, no, I really was. I did have some top skills, but there weren't many of us like that. But there was a lot of, each section had like a middle manager, you know what I mean? And then you had a divisional manager above them. Then you had like someone who ran multiple offices above them, go all the way up. So it's very hierarchical. So, but what I found was all the middle managers, right? This is what did it for me. The middle managers didn't necessarily have the best skills, but they might have had, say, people skills, different, right? But what did it for me, I went in the office and I looked around at the middle managers, and let's say they were 10 years ahead of me, and I looked at all the extra work that they had to do, all the hassle, and what did they get for it? They probably got 10 grand more than me, and they drove a fucking new Golf or a new Passat or something like this, you know what I mean? They just like a new car rather than, and a bit of a car allowance and fucking 10 grand. And I looked at it and I thought, Jesus, I've got to put 10 years in here for that. And honestly, I looked around people that would, this is what did it for me. I looked around at people that were 10 years ahead of me in their career, and I did not like what I was seeing there. And I thought, is that what I've got to look forward to? And sometimes this is what you've got to do. You've got to look at it. If you're not happy in your situation, what will 5 or 10 years look like? Is that what you want? Do you really? Because that's what you've got to look forward to, right? Those guys, they were still getting on the flipping train into work. They were still, they were still doing the same thing. They had a shitload of hassle, a shitload of responsibility. It was actually worth me. I was in a decent position, like a fairly senior grade. And if I just took one promotion, I'd end up where they were with all that bollocks. And I thought, fucking hell, it's not worth it. I'll stay where I am. You know what I mean? Because at least in my position, I could go home at night and work foreigners, like moonlighting, where I could do a bit of extra work without hassle, and I was still entitled to overtime and various other things. So that's what did it for me. I looked at people that were 10 years ahead, and I didn't like what I was seeing. And this is the point, right? So if even if you're going to switch career, and there's an article on my website about how long to stay in your job. And there's a video, I've actually got a video on my channel, which is one of my best videos, actually, how long you should stay in your job. It's brilliant there. I gave a model, and that article and that video, so on my website, andyholt.co.uk, there's an article there. Go and read it. There's also the video from my YouTube there as well, or you can just go on my channel and watch the video. It's brilliant. I did it for a coaching client, basically, who was in this kind of position where they were employed, and they wanted to know what the steps were of how to get from an employed position, very smart engineer, from there to the business owner with software or product, and got that sort of dream outcome. So I outlined the steps, and this is the point, right? That 10 years, if you stay where you are and you look at someone 10 years ahead of you and you don't like what you're going to see, that 10 years, you could actually be on your way to your absolute dream life, if not totally transformed by that point. So I think this is the biggest consideration. If you just look at the future, right, when to make the jump, it's like, now. if you're going to make the jump at some point, then when's the right time? Obviously, I wouldn't do it at a crazy time. So I wouldn't sort of jack my job in when I've not got something set up. I'd only do that, you know when the time is right, whether that's when you've got sufficient experience with the right skills, you've got plenty of contacts, you've got loads of experience, and you just know that if you leave this job, you can get another one tomorrow, right? I know jobs are hard to get, but the other side to it is, I wouldn't take a crazy risk and just jack your job in for, because I remember my cousin said to me once, he left his job. And I said to him at the time, I was like, "You sure this is the right move?" And he was like, yeah, I can get a job tomorrow. Like, I'll get a job here. I said, right, okay, if you truly believe that, then that's fine. And he wanted to do this business idea that he was passionate about, which is one of the signs, one of the things that you need that I always talk about. But when I listened to the business idea, I could see loads of holes in it. I just, I just looked at it and thought, I don't think you're going to make money at that. There was a lot of competition, starting out of scarcity. So if you're going to start a business out of scarcity with loads of competition, that is not a good place to be. You need to have something unique. It's like I did a video on how to turn your passion into a profitable business. I think the links are probably in this description. I'll check later, but it's on my channel. And I said there that the things that you need if you're going to start a business is, number one, you need to be passionate about it, because that's what's going to push you through the tough times when it's taking longer to materialize, because everyone underestimates how long it takes. They don't factor in, it's like Murphy's Law, you don't factor in what goes wrong. So it'll take long. So you need that passion. You need some kind of unique skill or unique product, something unique that either no one's got or not many people can do. So this might be like a really unique skill that you're good at. Whereas if you're going just like selling some shit that's not unique, that everyone sells, and you're just sort of competing on eBay, and you're just in a race to the bottom who can get the lowest price, which is difficult. There's nothing unique about it. There's no brand. So you need the passion. You need something unique, right? And then you need that kind of you need to know how to leverage, which is technology in the media, because you've got to be able to leverage, right? Understand leverage. And that's it. Unless you've got a shitload of money behind you, right? So I did a video on that, and I would not jack your job in unless you've got all of that stuff in place. Right, so this might mean moonlighting work, side hustling, developing it up. Whilst you've got that, if your job is easy, let's say it's a doddle, easiest job you've ever done, easy money, it's just boring, you're fed up of it, there's no progression. It makes sense to keep that coming in, so you've not got that pressure to pay your bills whilst you start to line this thing up. And the video that I did on how long you should stay in your job, that is quite a long roadmap, but it's a very, very safe roadmap. So in that, I'm not talking about developing a side hustle. I explain, it's pretty much my journey. So you're employed, right? You develop enough experience for you to go do the same job self-employed. So become a one-man band self-employed contractor, right? That's quite safe, because all you've got to do is become very, very skilled at what you do in an employed position with enough experience. Once you become the best, and it's easy, like you can look at your job and just develop good skills and just be absolutely hyper-focused in delivering good results for your job, right? Once you become the best, you can then go self-employed as a one-man band self-employed contractor. Now, usually, self-employed contractors usually are the best in the industry. That's why they have the privilege, can go self-employed, right? there was a time where everyone wanted to be self-employed in the UK, like all the public sector were public. It was nuts. Like anything was fucking self-employed. Most of the big public sector industries were formed from self-employed contractors, and this happened in the UK right up to about. We had a big financial crash after the American Lehman Brothers thing. You know, the 2008 crash, right? The worldwide crash, the subprime mortgages thing in the US, and then it came to the UK. And what we saw there were that many contractors, and even an average person were a contractor. Somebody who were just fucking average skills could be a contractor. As soon as that crash came, it absolutely wiped out any average contractor. They were just the first to go. Once businesses gone, the only ones that stayed were the best contractors. So now in the UK, the only people that are self-employed are the best. They've got the best skills. So if you want to go self-employed, you have to have the best skills in your industry. Right? You have to be, I don't mean the absolute best. I mean, you have to be one of them highly, if you can go in an office of 200 people, or if you're working on a site, a manual job, if there's 200 people and you're in that top fucking 10%, like or like I said, you go in that office and there's 5 people that are useful. If you're one of them, you should not be in an employed position. You should go self-employed. So on that article, that blog article that I did on how long you could stay in your job in the video, this is a step. You do your employed position until you're brilliant. You get them skills. You then go self-employed contractor, right? This is very safe. From that point, you do that for a few years, you build up a bit of money. You then, especially if you're in the service sector or something like this, professional services or whatever you're doing, like graphic design or whatever, marketing, whatever your niche. So you've gone from employed to self-employed. You've made that jump. Your next step should be to employ others. So leverage some other people. So build a team, right? So you build a team and you teach them your skills, and you manage it all, and you get more output. So you earn a little bit of money off each one of them. Right, so from that point, then you move from a self-employed contractor, a one-man band, to like a business owner. Basically, you've got a small team, but you eventually want proper leverage of either media or technology, right? So your next step is to create a product or a service, something scalable. And when I say scalable, I don't mean scaling other people's time for money, like more people. I mean like a product, something you can sell, even if it's like a digital product or a service, something that you can scale using either media or technology. So there are 4 steps. This is very safe, but it can take 10 or 20 years, all of that. Right? The only way to shortcut that is to do a side hustle that you study, create a plan, work up alongside whilst you're working, right? But that method, that 4-step method that I said that I wrote about in my article and on the video I talk about it, it's very safe. And whilst it might take a long time, every step your life will improve massively, and you'll get more, what's the word? You'll get more freedom, as in you get more personal sovereignty, right? You'll have more accountability. Remember, accountability you need as well when you go self-employed, because accountability means you're taking the risk and the responsibility for both the upsides and the downsides. You're kind of betting on yourself, basically. And I do believe that once you develop enough skills, the best thing you can do is bet on yourself. Because if you're highly skilled, all you're doing really is making someone else rich, right? So to bet on yourself is to take the gamble, take the risk, and you be the one that takes full responsibility for both the upsides and the downsides. So go and have a look at that article. how long you should stay in your job. Like I say, I'm probably going to do another one because the only way around that, right, is whilst you're working to set something, make your job as easy as possible. If it's easy and it's not strenuous, maybe you're just bored of it, but it's easy money, then start working up your side hustle. And the way you can do that, by the way, is like I do, with my journal, like I create a results-based plan and start working on 3 things a day. So what I would do if I worked a full-time job, I'd come home from work, I'd create like I do in the journal, create the identity, then I create a plan, like a goal to create this business. And I have an example in here. I've got one in here. Inside it, there is a decent example here. And this goal here, you start a new business, it's got make 50k in sales in 6 months, right? And this could be a side hustle. What do you need for that? Well, you've got to create a compelling offer, right? So you can create an offer that's attractive. You're going to create a website that's SEO optimized. It's going to work in the background. You're going to send some kind of email campaign, right? Or some advertising. You've got to get into ads or something, because when you start a new business, you've got to buy traffic at first. SEO takes like fucking months to get right, but you've got to work on SEO because eventually that will pay off and start bringing in a vast more traffic. And because you've got to buy an audience. Unless you've got one, you have to work at it. And sometimes that might mean advertising. You've got to do what you can to acquire traffic. So you might do this through like email marketing, like the old MailChimp thing, or you might do buying leads, advertising like Meta ads, Facebook ads, Google ads, whatever, YouTube ads, Google ads, YouTube, same thing. Then you got to obviously do some selling, book some appointments, convert some sales, all that kind of thing, right? So that's just a simple example in here where you create that goal. And then what you do, let's say you're working a job, like 40 hours a week or whatever you got to work, right? You come home every day, you do the journal, and you come home every day, and this is like what I do here, right? You write down, see it there, 3 things that I'm going to work on. So here now I've got 2 main sort of business goals. I've got goal number 1, goal number 2. First one relates to goal number 1, which is prepping a software demo. The second one is looking at some promotional ads, which is related to goal number 2. And then the third one is related to goal number 2, which is getting Google Merchant approval, right? There are 3 small things that would take you. Now, that's just my example. You've got your goals, you've created them, and then them 3 small things could take you 1 hour every day, right? So you work your 40 hours or your 8 hours in the day. So you work your 40-hour week, you come home, you get on it. Or better still, if you can do these 3 things early in the morning before you even go to work, you'll be fresher. Even if it just takes you, so let's say you have to be in work at 9 to 5. Just get up, get these 3 things done, 7 till 8. Right? 3 small things a day, working towards your goals every day. 6 months, you'd be surprised. You might be off the ground, a little bit of trickle of success coming in. 12 months, you could have a side income there, and then eventually you can make that jump. But you're taking action. Unless you're prepared to go through them 4 steps that I outline on my how long you should stay in a job video, and also on the article on my website, you ought to be doing this, creating that goal, working towards it 3 small things a day. Ideally first thing in the morning. If you work from home on your job, brilliant. Brilliant. You could get them out of the way, no one would even know. Done. And then in the meantime, the rest of your day, you're just doing all the bollocks at work, like answering emails and I'm not saying you work small, you know, it might be very important, but the point I'm getting at is if you're not happy, you should do 3 small things a day to hack your way out. Or you do what I say in my how long you should stay in a job, them 4 steps. Because that is an organic route to get you to the life that you want, one or the other. Let me know what you think in the comments. Yeah, hope you enjoyed that. See you all next time.